Hey, who's that guy? Pat the Designer returns on Locked On Bulls today. As me and Pat are going to break down the Lakers reportedly wanting Alex Caruso back. What do they have to offer? Is the bench the Bulls' best strength so far in this season? And Bradley Beal set to make his debut, of course, against us tonight. We're going to talk about it all and more right after this.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily podcast on the Chicago Bulls, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. That's the returning Pat the Designer back in the building, host and creator of the Windy City Breeze and host of the Chicago Bears podcast over at ESPN 1000. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls and Chicago Bears Central, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Pat, come back, man. You coming back right to a hell of a game against the Suns, man, which we'll talk about towards the end of this episode with Bradley Beal returning. But we got an interesting rumor dropped at like midnight, which I guess is not too late for LA time. But Sean Deveney at theheavy.com says that there is an exec that says the Lakers feel like they need a little bit more defense and that they've always regretted Alex Caruso and that they are willing to put together an offer. Now, what we're hearing so far is that they don't have a first round pick they can give up, but they are willing to give up Jalen Hood-Schifino, which they just drafted, and another contract if they can wait till December 15th to go ahead and try to make that trade for Alex Caruso. When you hear that, Jalen Hood-Schifino is a player me and you both talked about in this draft, was drawing comparisons to Malcolm Brogdon, young guy, has two-way potential. But I hear that, and I don't think that we've always heard the Bulls want at least 2 first-round picks back for Alex Caruso. What do you think?
Here's the part that's tough, right? Like, will Caruso be here whenever the Bulls eventually become a contender to be in the playoffs consistently?
That's a fair question.
Probably not, right?
Yeah.
So you want to get as much young capital as you can. I'm inching closer to the blow it up train. I'm not gonna lie. Like, how they came out to start this season was a punch to the gut of, like, first off, F you to all the video editors that made it look like they was gonna come out and kill, bro. They be doing an elite job over there at Bulls Media, bro. Like they had you feeling like, hey, we might actually get 7 this year. Oh no, they meant 7 wins. But no, anyway, I think you have to evaluate whether Schifino is a long-term answer, a long-term prospect there. I think the interesting thing that might need to be evaluated as well if you did make that decision is, do you go completely young with this thing? Because it seems like all of a sudden, and I haven't had a chance to really sit down and break down the last 2 games yet. I literally got in at like 11 o'clock last night, but it seems like Patrick Williams off of the bench for some reason has found a little bit more of a groove and is looking more like the player that we expected him to look like. Not again, right? Maybe he's just getting into the groove of being the player who he was going to be, and everybody was overreacting to 8-9 games in. But looking at the numbers, it seems like he's starting to get it together. You have to figure out if, hey, there's no fallback plan, what are these guys going to do? And do you have players that are in place? I don't know if that's P. Will, but maybe that's Schifino. If you make a trade like that and there's draft capital coming back as well, I'd be interested in it because I think
it's no draft capital. It's literally in what's rumored here. It's no draft capital. It's just Schifino. Schifino is the draft capital, and then another contract to match salaries.
You getting a second out of that, though, right? You probably getting a second out of that.
I mean, is second really draft capital, though? Is that really what we're talking about? As far I get what you're saying.
I hope so. Julian Phillips.
True. Hey, there you go.
I hope so.
I talked about this over on Central too, and the way that I talked about it as much like you. I said I could see this happening if the Bulls go fully. I would see this as a last trade after you move either Zach or DeMar or both of them, and then it's like we've gotten so much draft capital back. Let's go out and get out. We've gotten first round picks for DeMar or Zach or whatever it is. Now we're going to go ahead and move Caruso because, like you said, at that point he's definitely probably not going to re-up here anyway. Yeah. And you can take advantage of that. But then you get another young talented guard that you get to take a look at for a little while and see how they're going to round out.
Well, I think that's the question mark, right? Like, here's the one thing that I'll ask. And again, we started this off by, is Caruso going to be here when we're winning eventual championships?
Mm-hmm.
Is Caruso
eventual? This is Jerry Reinsdorf's own team.
Hey, listen, I said playoffs. I went big on that.
Okay.
Is Caruso the leader that we might need, though?
I mean,
to get this next group of young guys in place.
That's a great point as well, because you do have to, like, if you do go fully young, you still want to have some veterans around in some shape, form, or fashion, right? I mean, theoretically, you still have Javon Carter, Torrey Craig around too, because I don't think, like, their deals are so cheap. I think you would keep them if you do decide to go fully young. But it really comes down just to the question of, I think this would only be a move. This isn't a move that happens while the Bulls are still trying to win. They're still hoping that they're going to sneak into the playoffs or whatever else it is. This move would be one that's indicative of, yeah, it's about to be a tough, rough, a couple of rough years back to back. There, we're about to have a couple of 15-win seasons.
Yeah,
So.
And I think that's the worst part about this, right? Like, it's like when you look at this team right now, you like games like versus Utah, right? Tell me that, okay, they're gonna get hot one every 3 games. You get hot one every 3 games, one every 4 games. You'll find your way to 35 wins, right? And where does that put you at in the grand scheme of things, right? That doesn't put you in a good place draft-wise, and it doesn't put you in a good place standings-wise either. So now you're sitting here having to have the conversation of, if you're not even making the playoffs, is it time to blow it up? Is it time to move on?
I think, to me, if they don't even make it, to me, absolutely. There's no way at this point, like, you can sell a fan base on you're still trying to, like, double down with this core if we don't even make the playoffs this year. God forbid we don't even make the play-in either. No, to me, at that point, you got to just say, hey, listen, we tried it. This ain't it. And it's time to go ahead and move on.
But you got to make that decision before you get to the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like,
I think when we talked about it, like, as tough as this record is, and me and Kevin Anderson talked about it a little bit on Central yesterday too, like, by Christmas, you should have a pretty good idea.
Yeah. You should know what you're doing. I mean, listen, we probably know now. We might just be delaying the announcement.
I mean, true. Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? Because, like, this is not... It sucks because of how quickly we went to this point, right? Like, how quickly it turned into, oh, this is the same team as last year, when realistically speaking, right, Vooch always takes a long time to start the season off and start to get in his groove. He started off a little bit quicker than I think all of us thought he was going to, but he's still been a little bit up and down. Javon Carter has not hit the ground running at all, and all of a sudden Torrey Craig went from being like, we're not going to start you because we really like this Patrick. Well, you know what? Just come out in here. It is what it is. Just come on in, right? So there's a period of adjustment that we should grace them with, but they've also had 3 years.
Yeah, the core, the main part of. I mean, we do have 2 new starters in there. One that wasn't even a starter to start this season. So you got that part of it, but I think 25, 30 games is more than enough to really evaluate it. I think it really is at that point.
Yeah, 25, 30 games. Bro, if we get to 25, 30 games and nobody's moved, I'll be surprised.
Yeah.
And they're playing like this?
Yeah.
Like, they have to hit and here's
honestly, look, I mean,
how much grace do you give them on this, though? How much grace do you give them on this, though, right? Let's say they get hot.
Uh-huh.
And everybody's gonna say, oh, well, of course they got hot. They're an NBA team. Every team hits a streak. But me and you broke down how tough the start to this schedule is. Let's say they rattle off 6-7 wins.
Yeah. Which
does that change who they are in your minds as a team? Or are you still kind of on the same, you know what? That was fun.
It changes my perspective on, because right now, I don't trust this team is going to be able to turn it around. If they went on a 6 or 7 game winning streak, it'll just turn the fact of, okay, maybe they can. I still need to see more, though.
Yeah.
Because right now, I have no faith that they're going to be able to turn it around, just being 100% honest. I've seen this story before. Games. Yeah. But let's say we go on, because we got 6 out of the next 7 are at home, and the one that's away is in Milwaukee. That's basically a home game. They're going to take a bus up, right? So they're going to be sleeping in their own bed, get to have a lot of practices in. If they win 6 out of these next 7, cool. Cool. Congrats. You've now made me think, okay, there may be a chance. I'm going to go from no chance to a chance. But then how you do the next 10 games after that is going to, because what we've seen with the Bulls do, they'll win 3, lose 4. right? They'll win 4, go 3-2, or go 2-3, lose 2, win 3, and then lose 4 in a row after that. Like, so it's just.
But that's
I
the
don't know,
tough
man.
part, right? Like me and you had talked about this schedule, right? If you did that with this schedule, I'd almost be like, all right, I mean, that kind of makes sense. Like until January 2nd, although the Knicks look like the Knicks.
But you still have another month after January 2nd. So, okay, if we give them to January 2nd and say, what are you giving them? A grace period of 3-4 games below 500?
Here's the top. Right. That's what we said, right? If you guys are near 500 with this schedule to start, that's cool. But after that, remember, it drops off precipitously. It goes from like you playing the toughest schedule to like,
it was one of the easy schedules, but unfortunately, that's where the Bulls started faltering at last season. So
this is true.
So I mean, I don't know. Like, I think at the end of the day, you really have to look and evaluate how they perform against some of the better teams, some of the teams that are shaped to be playoffs. But also, does your team have an idea? Because I tell you what, if your team still, even if they are, let's say, a game above 500 by some chance of the imagination, but you're still looking at it and say, we still don't have an identity per se.
Yeah.
It's time.
Yeah.
It's time.
Yeah, so, I'm with you, man.
So, all right. Next up, we're going to be talking. It's so tough to be.
What a way to start the season, bro. Yeah, I know, right? It's like
next up, we're going to be talking about the Bulls bench. It's really started coming around here in the last few games. But before we get into that, got to talk to you guys about PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. We are the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more or less than 2 to 6 players, stat projections, and watch the winnings roll in. With the basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League, a league created specifically for combo projections that includes 2 or more players from different sports or leagues. For example, LeBron plus Travis Kelce at a 10.5 combo of 3-pointers made and receptions. Want to play alongside some of PrizePicks' favorite players like rapper Meek Mill and comedian Andrew Schultz? You can now find community plays under the promo tab of the app to view entries for some of the biggest names in the PrizePicks community each week. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. All right, Pat, with that said, let's go ahead and get into it, bro.
Yeah.
The Bulls bench, 51 points against the Utah Jazz, that's its own beast, right? But Javon Carter over the last couple of games, 3 out of the last 4 games, he scored in double digits. I think 15 points or more, 13 points or more, 3 out of the last 4 games. Andre Drummond, who just got into the 10,000 rebound club. Shout out to him. Io's really rounding out. We talked about P. Will and Caruso, right? Those players are playing really good and building the chemistry. I like the way that they're getting out in transition. The defensive intensity changed when they come into the game. Do you feel like right now, kind of the Bulls bench is one of the strongest, if not the strongest assets that we have on this team right now?
Ooh, you know what? I think there's something that's changed about the bench outside of just like the players that are there. There's something that has changed about the mindset of the bench, and maybe it's just right that everybody there has the mindset of being a bench player. But even how Andre Drummond has started the season playing, right? Like he was talking about it after, which I'm gonna tell you this: I didn't see much down in the DR. The only thing I saw was this man get a steal and smoke another layup. What's going on? What's going on, Drum? He's my favorite dude on the team because it's like he could 2-hand yam it backwards between the legs, or he could lay it up off the front of the rim.
That's
but funny. How Andre Drummond has been attacking on the defensive end, to me, has been rejuvenated. Alex Caruso is Alex Caruso. I don't expect anything different from him. Like I talked about a little bit, P. Will coming into his own out there. Like it's almost like everybody now understands what their role is, and they're just very comfortable. Even Al DeSumo, right? Like, we thought Io maybe had the chops to be a starting point guard last season. Now, all of a sudden, you look at him and you're like, man, he just looks more comfortable. He looks like this is where he needs to be. The amount of pressure that's on him is much less. All of a sudden, he can shoot the basketball. Where the heck did that come from? Right? Like, I don't care what the numbers said, because I love that part. It was like, well, his averages were the same as his rookie year. It's like, listen, if you go 0 for 3 in one game and 3 for 3 in the next, you're going to be 50%. But the bench to me looks very comfortable, which is something I can't say about the starting unit. And that is the part that, yes, the bench to me is the Bulls' strongest asset right now, because when I look at the bench, everybody looks like they know where they're supposed to be. I watched Zach LaVine year 3 of this thing being put together, and I'm like, why is he just drifting? Where's he going? Now he's got the ball. Okay, why is DeMar drifting? Where's he going?
I think that the bench, especially when you have a player like Javon Carter, who is definitely coming to his own, but you have Drum, you have Javon Carter, you have Caruso. These are guys who just understand their roles and what they can do on a basketball court. And then with the confidence of Io and P. Will and what they're building there as well, like it's I want to see it be a little bit more consistent. But this bench unit, it brings the defense. They get out of transition. They have the right amount of rebounding. Like it's the things that it's almost like the things that Billy Donovan talked about, seeing the team want to play. The bench right now is executing that better with less skill than the starting lineup.
Here's the weird part, right? Like, is the bench the style of team that Billy Donovan really needs?
Yeah, I think so.
Like the starter, like let's be real, Vooch don't run the floor like Drummond does. He just doesn't, right?
No, he's not nearly as mobile.
He's not nearly as mobile. Vooch is gonna be, down.
You missed Vooch finally getting his yam on somebody. He finally dunked it on somebody, bro. And I was
that's not the question I have though. Did he pelvic thrust after?
Of course he did. Come on, it's Vooch.
Who was Vooch humping down? Who
was it that he dunked on?
On today's episode of Who is Vooch Humping Now?
But yeah, he finally, it was against Denver, in which he did it. It wasn't Jokic. It wasn't Jokic. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, I was like, Pat missed Vooch finally getting his, bro.
I missed Vooch.
It was Braun. It was Christian Braun. That's who it was.
Dang, he dunked Christian Braun?
Yeah, Christian Braun got switched on him. He immediately was like, oh yeah, bet.
That's tough. Hey, when Vooch do that little like my shoulder is leaning and it looked like I'm not gonna stay balanced, dive to the basket, and you better watch your head. He's going up.
Yeah,
he's only gonna do it once every 6 months, but he's going up that one time. No, that's lit. But no, it really feels like, right, like when you look at Drum, when you look at Caruso, when you look at Io, and then P. Will being a little bit of a spot up shooter and having the size, kind of getting to his spots, different things like that, like. It really feels like that's the kind of team that Billy Donovan has always wanted, and he's gotten Zach, DeMar, and Vooch. Now, granted, you should be able to make that work. I'm not shooting him any bail on the job he's done with this team, but it really feels like he just wants the young run and gun type team, because when we see it on the floor with the bench unit, they fly. And I ain't gonna lie, to me, Kobe White has tried to do that a little bit, and it seems like people don't stick with him. It seemed like Kobe get the ball. If he get the rebound, boom, we taking off.
Oh, yeah. And I think Kobe is starting, and there's a quote from him, too. I almost put it as a topic on this episode. Maybe we'll talk about it after the game tonight. Like, Kobe talked about how he's like, sometimes people may look at me as a shithead, but I don't care. And I love that mentality coming from a young player and it's hard. Kobe White is in his 5th year. He's still only 23 years old, which is crazy.
Here's my question. Who you around that's still saying the word?
Come on, you got to remember, he's on the team with a bunch of old people, bro. Like, I would not be surprised if DeMar throws out a couple of shitheads, bro. Like,
DeMar
seems like somebody who definitely would say that.
Yeah, that makes sense, I guess. Straight back braids, yeah, he's definitely throwing that out there a couple of times.
Exactly. That's funny.
No,
That's
Kobe,
hilarious.
seeing that quote actually got me excited this weekend. Like it was, because it's what the Bulls are missing. It's all that they're missing. Somebody to be like, hey, what are you doing? Get it together. Be where you're supposed to be. And I feel like there's a tough line where you have the right veterans with the right young guys. It feels like the Bulls' young guys deferred to whatever their veterans told them to do. And this is Billy Donovan's teams are usually player-led. They're usually, right, like the players are the ones that speak up. So whatever Zach and DeMar and Vooch are telling them to do, the young dudes are like, all right, let's do it. We're going to make this work. And now it's like, okay, does Kobe finally not feel like a young guy anymore? Now he can say, hey, listen, we got to get this together. I'm tired of losing.
Yeah.
So I love that Kobe's speaking out. I'm not gonna lie to you. That to me, when I heard that, I think that quote came out late, right before we went to the airport. And I was very excited to see that because I was like, okay, give me that Pat Bev energy. I need, give me that. I don't know what Javon Carter. I thought he was supposed to be in here cussing people out. Is he? Nobody's been cussed out.
Listen, I wouldn't doubt that he is actually cussed a couple of people out, but it's probably been under his breath. Like, it's just, you mother. Like, that's probably what it is.
It's just been AK. Hey, man, we're going to keep this thing moving along. Appreciate you guys for tuning in and showing love. I got vacation voice going right here. Excuse me. Pardon me. But I do have to tell you guys about FanDuel. You can score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get a $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. I actually got a interesting parlay up right here on the screen. This is one that they literally that they literally offer you as you get on the website. Jordan Poole over 20.5, Kyle Kuzma over 22.5. These are points. Denny Avdia over 11.5. That's where it gets ugly because Jordan Poole not getting over 20 with Denny Avdia getting over 11.5. Daniel Gafford over an 11.5 and Tyus Jones over 11.5. All points. If you place a $10 bet, you get $271. I'm not going to lie to you. Don't place that bet. There's no chance Jordan Poole gets over 20.5 points versus the Hornets. Maybe.
I was about to say, yeah. I don't think that's that bad of a bet. I'm not saying it's a great bet either. I don't think it's as bad as what you were thinking, brother.
For $10, you might be able to pull that off. But visit FanDuel today /LockedOn to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
All right, Pat.
Why we getting NFL reads?
Bro. It is what it is.
That's figured out. I know they're listening.
All right, man. Bulls face off against the Suns today. And of course, Bradley Beal would look to make his return against the Chicago Bulls. It's just the way that it looks. Now, the Phoenix Suns haven't been playing too good on offense or defense, haven't been hugely efficient, haven't really shot the ball well from three-point range. But again, they've been missing Devin Booker. They've been missing Bradley Beal. So take those numbers and kind of throw them out. It really doesn't mean anything in this game.
Yeah.
How concerned are you with the Chicago Bulls' ability to play solid enough defense against a team with both Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant on it?
Oh, God. I think Torrey Craig is a huge asset in this because he's played against a lot of these guys. Mm-hmm. I mean, Kevin Durant's going to cook him. I mean, it is what it is, right? It's KD. But Zach LaVine versus Bradley Beal is the interesting matchup to me. And it might not even be that. It might be Kobe versus Beal. Beal might be playing the point in this situation. I don't know where they're gonna start him at tonight, but I don't know, man. Like that's a tough Vooch versus Nurkic. You should be able to dominate that, but that's a tough matchup, dog. Like on paper, right? But then you take into account, right, that this team has been a little bit disjointed. I think through the first 7 games, the number one thing I've noticed has been, why the heck did y'all hire Frank Vogel for this job? Because his style just doesn't fit this team in the slightest to me. His coaching style, right? Like, yeah, I've seen Kevin Durant playing defense in the post. I'm like, what's he doing down there? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I get it. He's 7 feet tall, but like, let's not put Kevin Durant on defense in the post. Like, they're a weird team, man. Their goal is to outscore everybody, and that kind of plays into the Bulls' favor because even as bad as the Bulls have been outside of that Denver game, we really haven't seen these high-powered offenses come in and just wipe the floor with them. Like, usually the Bulls do a really good job of shutting down these high-powered offenses. So, I think that the Bulls actually have, I know this sounds crazy, I think they actually have a shot versus this Phoenix team because I just don't believe that this Phoenix team in at least where they are right now is completely set in the system that they need to be in, and they haven't figured out where everybody needs to be on a consistent basis. They kind of like the Bulls, but with much better players.
Yeah, I mean, I see where you're coming with that, and I think when it comes down to it, I would trust the coaching of the Phoenix Suns more than Billy Donovan.
100%.
So that's where the difference comes in. That
Frank
it's like
Vogel.
it's hard for me. What? I mean, that's why I say it's not amazing, but it's I don't know.
Like I do feel like if we swapped out Frank Vogel with Billy Donovan on that Lakers team, I feel like Billy could have won.
You think Billy could have won that?
Like I just, you know what I mean? Like at a certain point, there's too much talent to lose.
You would think that, but I don't know, man. It's still Chicago Bulls, bro.
I don't know. I don't think there's the clear-cut advantage is Kevin Durant.
True. I agree with that.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, like the clear-cut advantage, because Bradley Beal, one he's coming back now. He can facilitate a little bit. I don't know if he's going to return to that defender that he had talked about being. Like that was hilarious. And then me and you went and looked it up. We were like, Bradley Beal was a sub 110.
Bro, it was crazy to see that, bro.
Bro, he was a clamp, bro. Like
that was
what
wild.
happened to that Brad Beal? But I don't know, man. Like the Phoenix Suns are such a weird team, and them being 12th in the West, it doesn't surprise me because it literally looks like they just. You remember when you used to get like plain potato chips and you just like put them in a brown bag, throw hot sauce in there, throw some ketchup in there, maybe some tahini if you was, I mean, and you just shake it up. That's how the Phoenix Suns feel right now.
Bro, that's how they feel to you?
That's how because it's just like, bro, like, what did y'all put together? And everybody got all excited when they made this trade. They was like, oh, they replenished their bench depth. Bench depth? You went out and got Grayson Allen. I'm supposed to get excited about Grayson Allen?
I mean, he's killed us in a few games.
No, he's actually murdered people in a few games. That's all that happened. He didn't kill us.
I told you before, bro. You can't.
Hey, that one playoff game, he did kill us. Actually,
you can't trust people with no lips, bro. That's what it is. Like,
bro, Grayson Allen is 24 years old.
Bro, that's crazy.
He looks 65, bro. Grayson Allen. We had a roasting session. TikTok took it down. They said it was abuse. But literally, bro, like. Grayson Allen is the oldest, youngest dude I've ever seen. And it makes no sense.
I don't know. Tony Snell gave him a little run for his money.
It's ugly out here. And then, I mean, like outside of that, like, no, but see, Tony Snell got a different thing. I'm off Tony Snell. I found out he autistic, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna leave him alone.
I mean, he just found out he was, so you can't really hold that against him either.
No, any jokes previously, they all stand. You know what I mean? Listen, he was out there getting active. 28 minutes, 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 defensive blocks. Now that team's weird, dog. Like they hate Bol basically. I never see that. I never see Bol play. I mean, you went out and got Eric Gordon. He was supposed to be the savior. Now I will say this. This is where it could get ugly. There are a lot of names on this team that have previously killed the Bulls in the past in single games with their team. We might get beat by 107 tonight.
That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of Bulls killers, surprisingly enough, on that
bench.
Yuta
Watanabe has killed us once.
Yep, killed us before.
Josh Okogie.
Grayson Allen has killed us. Eric Gordon has killed us before.
Nasir Little.
I didn't even realize he was on that bench. Yeah, yep. So they got a lot of Bulls killers on the bench. They're probably looking at it about, hey, we about to up those season averages tonight.
Basically, anybody whose name you might not know is on this team.
Yeah.
That's funny, dog.
When Yuta Watanabe goes 10 of 12 from three-point range tonight, bro.
All right over DeMar DeRozan.
Anyway, let's get up out of here, man. You come back and just bring trauma right along with you, bro.
Hey, man, follow us on everything at Locked On Bulls. You can follow me on everything at Pat the Designer. I'm dying.
You can follow me at CEO Haize. You can follow us collectively at Locked On Bulls. Man, I want to remind you guys that Locked On Bulls is free and available on every podcasting app and platform of your choice, as well as YouTube and the Odyssey app. For Pat the Designer, I'm Haize. This has been Locked On Bulls. We out, y'all. Peace. Just come back and bring the bull with you. I see you, bro.
I I saw some stuff down in the DR.